and Joe on 99.9 The Fan.
Join Tori and Terrence Holt for the Holt Brothers football camp. By the way, you can join Tori Holt on this program tomorrow at 4:30. Terrence Holt next week, Tuesday, also at 4:30. But they've got the Holt Brothers football camp July 13th at 14th WRAL Soccer Complex. The camp is open to kids 6 to 18 years of age. More information can be found. You can also register at holtfoundation.com. To the Alan Kelly and Company Train Hotline, Michael Wranovics is the president and CEO of something called The Ball. What is The Ball? It's the Basketball Alumni Legends League, slated to begin play, I guess, this year, but we'll let Michael give us the details on when and where and what The Ball is. Michael, thank you very much for the time. How you doing?
Great. Thank you, Adam.
All right, let's start nuts and bolts. People are like, wait, a professional basketball league? Don't we have those already? Explain to me and others what the difference is going to be with The Ball as opposed to stuff we've seen, obviously not the NBA, but stuff we've seen already.
Great. Well, thank you. I'll do that. The original idea actually came from the fact that I've been a Stanford basketball fan for a long time, and we had a point guard way back when who carried the team to the Final Four, Arthur Lee.
Arthur Lee, okay.
And, he was a fan favorite, very exciting player to watch. Everyone loved him, 4-year guy. And then his last game at Stanford, he was up against Jason Terry, absolutely dominated him. And Terry has obviously gone on to have a great NBA career. And Arthur Lee went undrafted, and Stanford fans never got to see him again. So, after a while, I started to notice there were lots of other players like that coming through the program, the Chris Hernandezes and Dan Grunfelds. And I started thinking about, what do these guys end up doing? Where do they go? What kind of possibilities could there be of actually putting a team together of all these fan favorites and having some exciting basketball? And actually, I was thinking all along that it would be during the off season, during the summertime, so you're not competing with all the other basketball that's out there. And I also wanted to see, is this just a Stanford issue, or is this true with other programs? And when I started to really look at it, it blew me away, just how much talent there is. You only have 2 rounds in the NBA draft. We just had one. And, guys like William Buford, Tu Holloway, Henry Sims from Georgetown, Jordan Taylor from Wisconsin, those guys didn't get drafted the other day. And they're just amazing college players. So when you consider that 99% of men's college basketball players go undrafted, and you think about the fact that you're not just talking about the most recent class, but you can go back, 7, 8 classes and look at the best players that are not currently in the NBA across several programs in a region, you can imagine some really strong teams and with some real star power and just great abilities. So the whole idea was, focus on college basketball hotbeds, not necessarily the Bay Area where Stanford is, but places like this. There's no place better than the Triangle, but markets where there's a built-in fan base, everyone knows college basketball, loves it, and play in smaller arenas where you can have a great atmosphere, focus regionally. Initially it's just going to be on the East Coast. The teams are pretty close together, or will be, so you got minimal travel.
Right.
You can capitalize on state versus state rivalries. And as I said, the summertime. So we're talking early June to mid-August. The key to the whole thing is most of the players that we're talking about, they end up playing overseas.
Right.
Or in the NBA D-League, but most overseas. Those are generally 1-year contracts. And players tend to hop from country to country. They don't know where they're going to be the next year. During the summertime, they're back in the States. They need to play, stay in shape, work on their skills, get exposure. And so that's what we're going to provide them, and they're going to be paid while they're doing it. And so that's basically the gist of the league. In North Carolina, we're actually looking at having 2 teams. A team in Raleigh, you can imagine you'd have players from state, UNC, Duke, East Carolina, NC Central, maybe Campbell. A guy like Eric Griffin would be a great player to play on that team. So I've been doing a lot of talking yourself. See if you have something else to ask on that.
Well, here's my biggest question would be the NBA Summer League generally starts in July.
Yes.
And for players who are still harboring hopes of being on an NBA roster, how do you balance that out with the goals of impressing in a summer league like that?
It's a great, valid question. There are a couple of answers to that. One, the NBA Summer League is only 10 days long. So we're talking about a league that runs all summer. So if one of our players is invited to the NBA Summer League, I mean, we want what's best for those guys. They've got to go.
Right.
And actually we would probably have them, blogging and tweeting from there, sharing their experiences. And, it's great. So they'd probably end up missing 3 or 4 games out of a 20 to 24 game schedule. But in general, that's not going to be the case because the NBA Summer League is really mainly focused on guys who were either drafted last year or were just drafted or, were just out of school in the last year or two. We'll definitely have some guys that just got out of school, but most of our players, the sweet spot is at least 2 years out, up to 7 or 8 years out. In some cases, even more if they're still developing their game wherever they're playing professionally at the time. And so, for the most part, it's really not a conflict at all.
Okay, it's almost like these are guys that are playing overseas, in the fall, in the winter, maybe into the spring, and then when they're back here during the summer, it's an opportunity for them to play in front of the fans that they played in front of while they were in school, and then head back overseas and do what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't just take vacation when they come back for the summer.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
No. I mean, for the first week or so, they might not even want to see a basketball. But they've got to get right back into it. I mean, these are pros, and there's always more improvement that they can have with their game, and they need to stay in shape. And but the other big part of what we're doing is providing them exposure. We've talked to scouts, and they say we'll have no problem attracting a lot of scouts to these games. It's at a time of year when they don't have as much to watch. But also television was always part of my hypothesis when I first started to develop this concept was that we would be able to attract television partners for some good distribution, just because, one, the time of year that we're talking about, there isn't a ton of sports content out there. This is when you start to see hot dog eating contests and hours of Texas Hold'em. So
right.
Here we've got great live basketball entertainment with well-known players that have strong local ties, and plus these are players that those television networks made into stars in the first place over their 4 years in college. So. That's a key part of this whole thing. I think it helps legitimize the league and promote it, but it's also going to help provide exposure for these players.
Starts this year, this upcoming summer, or are we going to start next summer?
Next summer, and it'll be sort of a soft launch next summer, where we'll probably just start with 4 teams.
Right.
A very short schedule that first year, 3 to 4 weeks, 8 games. And then it's in 2014 that we plan to go full tilt with 8 to 12 teams, 20 to 24 game schedule. We are actually going to be holding a couple of showcase events this summer.
Okay.
We're about a month away, August 4th and 5th in Washington, D.C. at GW University and in Philadelphia at St. Joe's.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be a Philadelphia.
Play in the Palestra, man.
Oh, yeah, no, that'd be perfect, except, we're a summertime league, and they don't have AC.
Come on, sweat it out. Sweat it out. I don't know how you don't play in the Palestra. Michael Wranovics, thank you very much. Interesting concept. No idea if it's going to fly, but it's a short league, summer ball, not going to get in anybody's way. I don't know. What would you, the guys aren't going to make a ton of money, but it's better than making nothing. Might do damage to some of the, we have the Pro-Am.
I can play for nothing, or I can play for a little bit.
We have the NC Pro-Am, right?
Yeah.
Some of these guys are professional players who play overseas, who have local ties. Some of these guys are
pros that are retired and still hang around, still play a little ball.
Yeah, but, also you got guys who are just really trying to hook on, right?
Yeah.
Hey, why not? But we'll see. We'll keep tabs on that.